Okay, let's go back to the end of the morning. We have a conversation and then a final panel for this morning, and then we have our networking lunch. We have 1 hour between the discussion and the panel. Please welcome Fabio Nava, who will discuss with Elie YOUNES. We will have this time the perspective of Radisson Hotel Group. Fabio, floor is yours. You have 20 minutes.
Hi, everyone. Elie, nice to see you. Good.
Hi, everyone.
So just a bit of an introduction about Radisson Hotel Group. I think most of us in the audience know about Radisson, but I think in terms of activity across Africa, I think there's some very poignant notes to make. I think Radisson is definitely a leading hospitality provider on the continent. And as of the mid-2023, they'd announced the signing of 7 new hotels, adding 1,400 rooms to the African continent. These included introductions of new brands in markets like the Radisson Collection hotels in Nigeria and Egypt, and the debut of the Radisson Red in Nigeria, and specifically in Morocco, which is the reason we're all here, is that they're strengthening the footprint by by opening a dual-branded hotel in North Africa's first Radisson Red. So these properties are all set to open in 2027, specifically in Morocco, in Casablanca Financial City, which is a testament to Radisson's growing strategy in Africa. So Elie, I think on that introduction, let's get straight into it. We've got 20 minutes. I think you guys want to hear from him more than me. So I think with that intro and Radisson's current footprint in Morocco, how does that reflect on Radisson's overall strategy for North Africa?
I was talking to a lady from the media before, and she asked me the same kind of question. And Morocco for us, obviously, and this is part of a continent called Africa. And if you look at Africa and our focus on Africa 5-6 years ago, we used to look at it as focused approach. 50% of our focus used to be in the West, 30% of our focus used to be in the East and in the South Africa and the Tanzanias and Nairobis of the world, and 20% of our focus used to be in the North, that is Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco, and Algeria. Now somebody rolled the dice on the world and things have changed, and if you look at it today, it's different. And actually it's different for me. I was a little bit, I wouldn't say surprised, but somehow I wasn't expecting to change my mind as much as I've changed it for the last 3 or 4 days since I have come here and better educated myself about the evolution of Morocco. Because I would say today Morocco is probably the top 1 or maybe even 2 maximum countries for us in Africa in terms of focus. We have 9 trading hotels in Morocco, very well spread between urban hotels and resorts in Casablanca, Marrakesh, and on the coast, and 4 in the pipeline, very solid pipeline in terms of quality. We have the new skyline towers at the financial district here, which will redefine the social center of the new financial district of the city, the Radisson Blue and the Radisson Red there. That is opening in a couple of years. And then we have the most cultural property in town, the Rincon Hotel, which is an institution in itself. When I first saw this hotel, before we signed it 20 years ago, it almost reminded me of the Georges VI. Not as such, but it had, for me, it's as much institutional and emotional probably to the city as that property is to France. So we're very happy that this is also opening soon. But the thing is that the future, we have 13 hotels today open in the pipeline. We think we want to increase that to 30 hotels by 2030, which would place Morocco top two countries for us in Africa, and probably it will enter the top 15 countries for us worldwide. And then, if I may just continue to say, and then the lady asked me why. Why is it like that? Why is Morocco becoming, or what has changed in Morocco? And I think Morocco today has a very solid tourism potential and infrastructure, which it always had. This is nothing new. It has always had its tourism attractions and potential. But it now has proven, which wasn't before, in economic stability, which wasn't there before. There were always maybe, maybe not. But now we can say Morocco has proven its stability from an economic development perspective and from a monetary perspective. There hasn't been much changes or scary changes like elsewhere, as we know what I mean by elsewhere and where. And then you have something also new that has been more fortified, which is the engagement of the government, increasingly engaged. It was engaged before, but it is increasingly engaged. 2030, and we all talked about that and all that, but 2030 is not why. 2030 is a small piece of the bigger puzzle, in my opinion, the World Cup. And last but not least, a very solid workforce, which we don't find elsewhere. So this is the secret recipe, in my view, of Morocco that will place it as a top two markets for us in Africa and 15 in the world.
And I mean, I can see it with your team. I see some of your members at the back there. So Morocco is clearly a focus. I think the big thing that we always have to ask ourselves in the industry, right, is there a focus specifically on corporate leisure? I mean, the ideal is everyone talks about it. It was a pleasant word a couple months, years ago. We want to have these pleasure hotels, right?
Yeah.
I think that is an important bit. And you speak of Casablanca, Marrakesh, and so on. Yeah. I think the base is there in the primary cities. What about the secondary locations?
I must say that today we are also present in some secondary resort locations, Hoceima, Sadia, etc. They're not as primary as Agadir from a leisure perspective. But we're equally very prominently present in Casablanca, and especially with the new hotels that we have, and a little bit in Marrakesh. This is our story so far in the country. So if I look forward, what would be our ambition? I was discussing that with the team yesterday. We had this small strategy meeting about Morocco, and our focus now is more on Marrakesh. We'd like to get more properties in Marrakesh, but we'd like to also enter Tanger. We'd like to enter Rabat. But then I would like to selectively place some hotels on the coastline in terms of resort. I personally believe there is also an opportunity in Morocco for a transformational approach with some strategic partners who have a long-term view for even potentially secondary cities. Morocco have enough depth to look beyond normal organic growth, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. And I mean, it's a beautiful coastline. You can do so much across the different cities, right?
Yes. Unexploited to a large extent. Yeah.
Exactly. I think also some of the conversations that the brands are going to look at is to say, where are we going to find, and I think the ministry said, 150,000 keys before 2030, right? And are we talking greenfields? Are we talking conversions? Are we talking... What is it going to look like? I think, and maybe you can touch on the Radisson Individuals brand. I mean, this is an interesting concept that I understand, but maybe some people in the audience don't know about it.
My desire would be, or our desire would be, to do more conversions and support conversions, especially now with the new government subsidies for conversions, to promote people to convert their hotels, something that we've seen in Italy before, which sometimes has been well utilized, sometimes not very well utilized in Italy, for the subsidies for conversion. But the reality is that I think we would have 50% or 30% conversions, and the rest will have to be new build, given the nature of the existing stock of hotels across the country. Now, if this new subsidy program is well utilized, it could stimulate more conversions because it will give the necessary funds to the families or the investors of those hotels to upgrade them to the level is needed. What we have seen in Italy, specifically in the south of Italy, when that happened, these programs tend to be 50% well utilized, 50% exploited by the rich people, which is not the reason why you do that. You do that for the people in need. So it has to be carefully designed to maximize the purposed result of it as a program. And Radisson Individuals is designed for those programs. It's a brand developed to help individual hotels with their own characters to have access to the international traveler, 150 million loyal members, the largest brand in Europe, etc., etc. But at the same time, maintain their own identity and integrity. And since we launched the brand, we have now 100 hotels with their own name, with their own identity, running as or under the Radisson Individuals brand. So it is the Hotel X, a member of Radisson Individuals. So allow the hotel have its own identity while getting access to the customer. And hopefully this would help also some of these hotels across the country.
And this could be obviously at a single hotel level, but portfolios you can do on a Radisson Individuals basis?
Naturally, it's a single hotel because the ownership is single hotel, but I see a lot of institutional, let's call them institutional investors in Morocco, who could also be a potential partner for Radisson Individuals. All the localized brands or the localized owners who have 2, 3, 5 hotels could be an opportunity, or we could establish an opportunity with an existing, with a partner who want to run or establish a local brand for Morocco that has an international reach. We're very open to these ideas as well. We're not narrow-minded when it comes to growth. We're very tailor-made. We have a very tailor-made approach when it comes to expanding the business.
So I think you touched on a very good point around we had the ministry here yesterday. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's a clear motivation. It's very encouraging to see. You had specifically given the example of Italy. I mean, in your experience with those incentives in Italy, I mean, when it's utilized properly, it works well, right? Yes. So, I mean, what's the message there? It has to be clear. We need to have a good understanding of how that framework works, and it's not abused. Right?
It has to be clear. It has to enable the people in need to get access to it, and it needs to avoid people to exploit it from an arbitrage perspective. What we have seen in Italy is a lot of suddenly funds, private equity suddenly utilizing them. While the purpose of it is not for private equity, it's not for the Blackstones of the world to come utilize it. It's for the small family in Marrakesh who doesn't have sufficient funds to renovate their hotels, so they establish their property. So it needs to be designed for those people, and the execution of it and the monitoring has to be as such.
Okay, I'm going to now, I mean, I agree with you 100%, and that also talks to the increase in tourism and the goals that the ministry has. Now, I mean, we've seen a steady increase in tourism, particularly from the MENA region in Europe into Morocco. So I suppose the question I have is how is Radisson leveraging these growth trends to drive occupancy, ADR, profitability, and so on?
This is part of the bigger equation of driving success to the business. The main driver of success starts with one understanding across the organization, and that is this business has 2 customers, only 2, the guest and the owner. And everything that you do as an organization has to be relevant to these 2 guys. Everything. And we as an organization are proud of 3 things: our owners, our brands, and our people. These are our assets and nothing else. And this relates somehow to what you're saying, and I want to make the relationship in a second. Our brands. We deploy a very localized, adjusted brand architecture across the continent and somehow simplified. We're not a company with 50 brands. We have 5, 6 brands deployed in Morocco, simple to understand to the guest and to the owner and to your people. You need to confuse people with your 60 brands. At least that's our approach, 5, 6 brands. Radisson Collection in the luxury lifestyle, Radisson Blue, upper upscale, Radisson Red in the lifestyle segment, Radisson, Parking by Radisson, Price Hotel, etc. Very clear brands. We look at it as a BMW, one car with different models. Then the network. You need to deliver the results to your owners, give them access to your customers. And here is, to your point, you said people coming from Europe and increasingly from the MENA region, the Gulf states. And obviously it helps when we have, in our case, and this is not like a sales pitch, but it's the reality, we have the largest upper upscale brand in Europe. Radisson Blue today is the largest upper upscale brand in Europe. The numbers, this is the pure numbers. And of course, if your brand awareness is very big in your feeder markets, it helps the consumer when they come here to stay in your hotels. And the same applies in the Gulf region. Leverage on the 60 hotels we have today under construction or open in Saudi Arabia or Kuwait and Bahrain and that part of the world. So this also helps. But last but not least, and probably most importantly in terms of leverage to get success, this business is about people. So having the right people, having the local, I'm increasingly convinced you need the local people in Morocco, specifically Morocco, everywhere, but more so in Morocco probably, having the right local leadership and talent is probably 50% of your success stories in a place like Morocco. And the right local commercial engine in Morocco for Morocco. Don't confuse the hell out of me with inbound, outbound, let's put people in China and 2 other people in Indonesia. A local commercial engine in Morocco for Morocco. That's in my view, one of the key ingredient. The totality of that is the success story.
Okay, I think localizing it a little bit more. Also in the last few years, there's been a couple themes. One of them has been mixed use. I mean, that's a theme that's been coming for many, many years. And we've seen it with some of the conversations yesterday, today, service departments. I'd like to understand the service department branded resi model with Radisson's hotel brands. I mean, I think, and this is my view, Morocco is a liquid market. It's a much more mature market than other regions in Africa, which I think is a little bit more challenging.
Correct.
So when you talk mixed use, I mean, you know, there's lots of efficiencies in something like this.
Yeah.
How do you see this in Morocco?
It's a very relevant trend, not only in Morocco, but everywhere. Everywhere in the world. I go to Vietnam today. We do hotels in Ho Chi Minh. We do hotels in Phuket. I do hotels in Fiji. We just signed one. Or in London, or here in Dubai. Mixed use is becoming, even in Tokyo, becoming an increasingly relevant real estate approach. And we have developed the value proposition for that demand for our owners predominantly to have the right real estate models to make them viable for them in terms of what does it mean to sell the resi, how do you help the owner sell the resi or rent the resi or sell the resi and put it back into a rental pool or associate it or sometimes do nothing but give the resi access to your hotel units so that there's a sense of improved quality at the residential units to improve the velocity of their sale. And very concrete example is the financial district, the 2 hotels that we have here, the Radisson Red and the Radisson Blue hotels. They are part of an integrated mixed-use development, probably one of its kind today in the city in terms of new mixed-use developments, that has a very big retail podium, that has 2 hotels, that has a massive, probably one of the largest conference centers, one of the largest conference venues in the city when it opens, many restaurant outlets to create the social anchor of the financial district, and around 300 units of residential, all within one mixed use, which will eventually, although in this case, we don't have a direct relationship, contractual relationship with the resi, we have a service relationship tailor-made to the resi. So unlike the other resis on the district, they will have room service if they want. They will clean their rooms. We will babysit them. We'll clean their toilets. We'll get their coffees. So suddenly you have this extra service on your residential units to differentiate from ourselves, improving the rates to your owners. I do believe this is the first, but certainly not the last mixed use that we will do in Morocco.
I mean, it's a natural serve. You know, you're servicing the rest of the precinct with it, right? And if Radisson can and obviously accommodate long stay guests, short stay guests. I mean, someone had said yesterday that the industry has changed. It's no longer bums and beds, right? It's everything else that goes with it. So I think that's important. We've got 30 seconds left. I think one question is, you mentioned conversions. We've spoken about Radisson individuals. I might be putting you on the spot here, but you know, in Morocco, procurement, easy to convert compared to other regions in Africa because, you know, your location to Europe in terms of procuring for an owner or a developer to convert, does it make it easier than other markets, let's call it in sub-Saharan Africa?
In Morocco, the procurement element as such, I think it has a little bit of an advantage compared to a place like Nigeria, the extreme complications to get your stuff out of the port and all that stuff. But I don't think it is enough to make it a USP. I think it is there, we leverage on it, but it's not enough to say, hey, it's such a big change or difference.
Good. I think that's this. We're out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fabio and Elie. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
For all your insights.
Thank you, man.
And we're gonna